Whenever you're cutting things, you're making scraps.
For 36 years, I was a full-time pastor and a part-time woodworker. Now I'm a full-time woodworker and a part-time pastor. But every day in the shop, I see things that remind me of God. And so we'll look at some of those things here on the Cross and Chisel. Come on into the shop.
Today we're talking about restoration. And a lot of times whenever I'm in the shop doing things, I think about what you do with the stuff that you don't want, the stuff that's broken, and the stuff that's not usable. And I found a solution for that. Boy, do I make a lot of scrap boxes. Whenever you're cutting things, you're making scraps. And you wonder, what should you do with all the scraps? And one of the things that I do with scraps to make them useful is to change them into something else. Right here are a bunch of wood scraps that I have. They're nice pieces of wood, but they're not very big, and they're all different widths and different sizes. And so what I do with all of these pieces of wood, after I've glued them all up, they've dried, I run them through the planer, and I make them into a cutting board. I try to arrange the pieces so there's some variety and some beauty in here, and you end up with a cutting board of various sizes. Cutting boards are always gifts because they're something that has been made out of something that would be thrown away. They're restored to a useful purpose, and I like that. Restoration is writ in capital letters all the way through the Bible. And in the 21st chapter of Revelation, God is at the throne and says, I make all things new. I went to visit a friend who was in a tragic situation. Her husband had died. And she's a person of faith, and she looked at me and she said, joy will return, but not today. And I understood. Sometimes when I look at this world, I think maybe Paul read the same news that I read this morning. But in reality, it's always been broken. Paul writes to the Corinthians, we're experiencing trouble on every side, but are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are persecuted, but not abandoned. We are knocked down, but not destroyed. Always carrying around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be made visible in our body. Joy will return, but not always today. But that's what hope is made of. That's what my life is grounded in, that there is hope. The hope that I talk about is not just for the future. It's for today. Because you and I have an opportunity to be agents in God's restorative process. God's going to make all things new, but we can start now. We don't have to wait till the hereafter. Whenever there's hope, and whenever there's love, whenever there's mercy, whenever there's gentleness, whenever there's self-control, we can participate in those things. We can align ourselves with the brokenness of this world, and we can despair, or we can look toward the hope and the healing that God is going to bring. One day, the brokenness will be gone, and only the beauty will remain. On that day, God will have made all things new.